Chapter 7 The Fractured King. The air shimmered with a heat that wasn't heat. Magic. No. Memory. Forgotten rage, sealed in stone. Waiting. Amuro stood at the threshold of a new domain. It wasn't a corridor or cathedral. It was a throne room, shattered, submerged in twilight. The floor was broken glass, the ceiling a dome of mirrored fragments swirling slowly like a whirlpool of sky. In the center stood a figure in cracked obsidian armor, one hand resting on a sword stabbed into the ground like a gravestone. But it wasn't resting. It was restraining it. And the sword, it was humming, whispering. "Do you feel it?" A voice called, deep and wrong. "The thread sings. You pulled it, and now you unravel what should have stayed buried." Amuro stepped forward, blade drawn, runes pulsing like a second heartbeat. The figure turned. His face was a mirror. Not metaphorically, literally. Where a face should have been, there was a polished surface reflecting Amuro's own image, but corrupted. Cracked. Bleeding smoke from the eyes. "Who are you?" Amuro demanded. The voice spoke not from the mouth, but from inside his skull. "I am the fracture between what you were and what you could become." Shield, boss encounter, the fractured king. Type, echo-tethered guardian. Threat level, extreme. Special abilities. Mirror bind, temporarily disables one learned skill by reflecting it back. Fracture pulse, causes illusions of alternate futures to distract and confuse. Ego slash, the blade cuts belief, weakening willpower and clarity. Weakness, cannot strike without losing a memory of its own. Amuro charged, activating Shadow Ripstep, but the king moved at the same moment, perfectly mirroring him. Clash. Metal sang. The king's blade screamed as it struck, and Amuro's memory faltered. For a second, he forgot his own name. He blinked, regaining control, and rolled behind a shattered pillar. His hand trembled. He whispered, "Focus, you're real. You're real. This is your thread." The rune on his wrist flared violently, and something awoke. A new power surged. Cyclone, new skill, Threadbind Shatter. Breaks one illusion tether and deals echo disruption damage in a short radius. May cause temporary identity flux. Amuro leapt forward, blade glowing, and activated the skill mid-air. The world shattered like glass. Fragments of illusion burst from the king's form, memories of betrayal, of ancient wars, of kneeling in the ash of a forgotten city. The mirror face cracked. "You see now," the king gasped, voice warping. "You shouldn't." But it was too late. Amuro struck again. And again. And then, he stopped. The king was on one knee, armor cracked, blade shattered. "You were never meant to fight me," the king whispered. "You were meant to replace me." Amuro's grip tightened. Then stepped down. "I'm not your echo." The final blow wasn't violent. It was acceptance. The king dissolved into violet ash, his sword disintegrating in a spiral of sound and silence. From the dust, a memory remained, a sealed echo. Military medal, item acquired, crown of the fractured line. Passive, increases resistance to mind-based attacks. Active, once per day, reflect an enemy's skill. Warning, prolonged use may alter perception of self. As Amuro took it, the air changed. The path ahead opened, not a tunnel, but a rift, pulsing with threads of red and white. A choice. And the world waited. Continuation, aftermath, and echoes. Amuro stumbled back as the fractured throne behind the Echo King crumbled into dust. The rift ahead pulsed with gentle waves of color, red and white threads weaving in and out of each other like breath. He didn't step through. Not yet. Instead, he dropped to one knee, breathing hard, the revenant blade flickering with residual heat and memory. Every inch of his body ached, but not just from battle. From identity bleed. He'd glimpsed too much again. Lives not lived, choices never made, versions of himself too terrible to accept. He opened his inventory flare and activated camp ritual. A soft ring of light surrounded him, and the world inside dimmed. Time slowed. He lit a small fire using flicker wood from earlier, its flames bluish and oddly silent. Then, he did something rare. He cooked. Hammer and wrench, item created, ashroot stew. Ingredients: ashroot, dried marrow shroom, iron leaf oil. Effect: restores 60% vitality over time, grants plus 10 willpower for the next hour. Notes: comforting, tastes faintly like rain. As he stirred the small pot, his rune calmed, fading from bright violet to soft indigo. The silence was comforting. "You're lucky," came a voice from behind him. Amuro spun, hand instantly on his blade, but he paused. A girl stood just outside the ring of camplight. Older than a child, younger than a soldier. Wrapped in traveler's gear with a long staff at her back. Her eyes shimmered slightly. Not human. Not entirely. "You felt the thread break," she said, stepping in. "Most would have died. Who are you?" She sat down, uninvited, but not threatening. "Call me Kaelen. I follow echo ruptures. When one explodes like that, I notice." Amuro narrowed his gaze. "You don't look like a dungeon entity." She smiled faintly. "Not yet." There was a pause. Amuro finally handed her a bowl of stew. She took it, ate silently for a minute. "You're chasing something," she finally said. "A presence in the thread that's not supposed to be there. Aren't you?" He looked into the fire. "He's returning," Amuro murmured. "That's what the dream said. Then we're both running out of time." She stood. "That rift," she pointed to the thread gate behind them. "It doesn't lead forward. It leads inward, toward the root of the dungeon, toward the source." "And you want to come?" Kaelen shrugged. "I want to see if you survive. Or burn." And without waiting for permission, she stepped into the rift. Amuro cursed softly, finished his stew, stood up. His rune pulsed once. And then, without fear, he followed. Puzzle piece extended continuation. Aftermath, firelight, and fateful encounters. The silence after the battle was deafening. Amuro stood amidst fragments of what once was a king, though whether it had ever been a man was now debatable. Crystalline shards of echo bone littered the chamber, pulsing faintly like dying embers. The fractured throne, once a monument to false dominion, now cracked like a shattered ribcage under moonlight. He took a step forward, then another, and dropped to one knee. The revenant blade dimmed in his hand, its once violent flame reduced to smoldering red. His hands were trembling, not from pain, but from the psychic residue of the battle. Visions still flickered across his vision. 1,000 kings screaming. A woman with his face crying at a forgotten grave. A palace of mirrors collapsing inward. He couldn't think. So he did what instinct told him. He summoned campfire sigil. Blue flame ignited in a perfect circle around him, pushing back the oppressive weight of the throne room. The rift in the distance, still pulsing softly, faded from urgency to background hum. Amuro rolled out his field kit. Ground tarp. Stew pot. Herbal pouch. This wasn't survival. It was sanity. He chopped ashroot, crushed some marrow shrooms, and added iron leaf oil. The scent that emerged was something between burnt cedar and wet stone, oddly soothing. "You've created ashroot stew. Restores vitality and stabilizes memory thread. Plus 10 willpower for 60 minutes. Side effect: dreams may become lucid." Amuro leaned back, watching the fire's glow flicker in the silver veins of the cathedral's ruins. And then he heard it. Soft footfalls. Purposeful. Not hostile, but not cautious either. He turned his head, slowly. The fatigue weighed on his movements. A figure stepped into view. Slim. Cloaked. A staff slung across her back, bandaged at one end. Her eyes shimmered, green irises laced with violet threads. "You left a trail of ruptured echoes behind you," she said, not unkindly. Almost poetic. Amuro didn't stand. "Name." "Kaelen." She stepped fully into the fire's glow, and he saw it now. Her aura was frayed. Like a person once whole, now held together with string and memories. "You're touched," he said flatly. She nodded. 3 times. Once by accident, twice by choice. "And the parasite?" "The king." "Gone," she said. "But the ripple hasn't stopped. You pulled something loose. Something bigger than that thing on the throne." Amuro stirred the pot again, silent. Why are you here? Kaelen sat, pulled her knees to her chest. Following threads. Like you. Only difference is, I know what I'm looking for. He raised a brow. And what's that? A wound in the world. They sat in silence for a while, broken only by the bubbling of stew and the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the rift ahead. Amuro handed her a bowl. It's bitter, he warned. She took a bite. Made a face. You're not wrong. Another silence. Then, do you ever wonder, she said, if this dungeon wasn't built, but remembered? That made him look at her. What? The way the echoes behave. The way the walls respond. This place isn't just a structure. It's a recollection. We're walking through a giant memory, and we're being rewritten every time we step deeper. He didn't respond at first. Then, I saw myself again. In the parasite's mind. Versions I didn't live. And one of them wore the same rune as me. But older. Burned. Kaelen's expression darkened. Then the timeline's closer than I thought. What are you talking about? She stood up, dusted off her cloak. You're not just marked by the revenant thread. You're its seed. And something's trying to pull you backward. To when the thread first frayed. Amuro gripped the hilt of his blade. You're saying I'm the source. She met his gaze. I'm saying you might be. Or, you might be the last thing standing between the thread and total collapse. Then, without another word, she walked toward the rift. It leads inward, not forward, she called back. If you follow, there's no coming back. Amuro finished his stew. Stood. Checked his gear. Tightened his gloves. Then he followed.